Okay, people, the fun and games is over with. I know it's entertaining, but also truthful for me to talk about other channels and how they're ripping off, scamming, and manipulating people, to buying their shit so they don't have to get a fucking job like the rest of us. But I'm going to show you something right now that's of the utmost importance that nobody else has reported to you. So hold on. ABC News, June 23rd. Water levels at Lake Mead dangerously close to hitting Deadpool status, roughly 150 feet from allowing the water to flow downstream. Deadpool means the water cannot flow downstream. There's a difference between producing power. It supplies the water to millions. California, Arizona, Nevada, part of Mexico, the reservations out. Deadpool means the water will not flow good. In other words, when they open the doors, the water level is so low it won't go. Okay. According to the minimum surface elevation needed to generate power at the Hoover Dam is 1,050 feet. Okay. Anything below that is considered an active pool. An active pool means it will not produce power. Deadpool exists at 890 feet, which means the water will not go through when they open the doors. The water levels at Lake Mead measured 1,044 feet. Let's round that up. The water levels at Lake Mead measured 1,044 feet. It needs 1,050 feet to produce power. So thus, there is no more power being generated from the Hoover Dam. Okay, so why isn't that Las Vegas and other places don't have no power? Let's take a looky.
I should have said still have power.
Power is drawn from the National Electric Grid, more than 6,000 power generating plants, coal, natural gas, solar, and water. But going by that article, the water power, they're no longer getting any electricity from the Hoover Dam. Solar, if you look it up, solar is basically fucking worthless. You realize the solar panels you would have to supply Las Vegas with power? And for those that don't know it, which is probably the majority of people, the hotter it gets, the more worthless solar is. Natural gas and coal. We are running and limited on coal and natural gas. If you don't believe that, look it up. I forgot this one. What's another major distraction? Supreme Court overrules Biden EBA climate strategy. They no longer have to follow the EPA's guidelines on what energy producers put out. Why? Because it does not matter, because this planet is in its death throes. Oh, by the way, when Wigginton reported on the water levels of Lake Mead was 25th, 8 days ago, and some other people just now starting to figure it out. Here's his report from the 25th.
Is part of climate engineering, creating a scenario called VPD, vapor pressure deficit, which means the atmosphere sucks up all available moisture and flora shut down. They close their stomata, they stop breathing, they stop uptaking carbon, they stop releasing oxygen. That's what's happening, and climate engineering is core to all of this, and the so-called science community will not admit to this problem because their paychecks, their pensions, their grants all depend on them not acknowledging this elephant in the sky. Another headline last week, ABC News as well. Water levels at Lake Mead are, quote, dangerously close to hitting Deadpool status. From that report, water levels in Lake Mead are continuing to deplete to dangerous levels, so much so that the reservoir could soon hit the, quote, Deadpool levels. There's more. The minimum surface elevation needed to generate power at the Hoover Dam is 1,050 feet, according to the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation. The water levels at Lake Mead measured 1,043 feet Thursday morning. They're not trying to reduce carbon anyway. That's what climate engineering is about, keeping business as usual until the last possible moment. And two, agencies like the EPA are already tasked with hiding threats from the public, not disclosing them. Again, Fox is running the henhouse from top to bottom, and the public all too willing to go along so long as their personal paradigm isn't disturbed in any way, shape, or form. And they can pretend that the only problem is we're just not drilling enough oil wells. To those that still believe their biggest problem is the price of gas, time to wake up. Sooner than almost any want to believe, food, water, and a place to shelter from the scorching heat will be the top priorities. And about the Supreme Court, for those that are not yet clear on this point, the Supreme Court actors are nothing more than sock puppets whose task it is to polarize and divide populations, thus keeping the population's eyes off the wider horizon until the moment of impact, which draws perilously near. Back to the unfolding climate collapse, with climate intervention operations further accelerating the process. From the New York Times, heat waves around the world push people and nations to the edge. It's an understatement. The dominoes are about to start falling at blinding speed. Another headline last week, same theme, multiple sources. Simultaneous extreme weather created dangerous cascades in the U.S., i.e. drought, heat, wildfires, crop collapse, toxic air, all happening at once. Cascading collapse. On that subject of cascading collapse and species co-extinctions, they're not coming, they're here. What does co-extinctions mean? It means when one species collapses and goes extinct, all other species that depended on that species also go extinct. Humanity cannot survive without functional habitat, i.e. no more food, no more people. Every single major environmental organization, none of them deserve a penny unless or until they address the ongoing weather warfare insanity, which is crushing the planet's life support systems and contaminating every breath we take. And about mainstream media, nothing less than a weapon of mass deception, polarization, division, and distraction, while life on Earth is literally circling the drain. More meltdown reports from last week, and even now, how many continue to pretend it isn't so? From Axios.com, global heat records are broken. From the Russian Arctic to Japan, June records and all-time high temperature records have been shattered. Next headline, same theme. Record-breaking heat from North Africa to Norway. Another headline, same theme. From theweathernetwork.com, records may fall as impressive heat wave roasts the Arctic Circle. Another headline last week, same theme. Study reveals powerful links between methane and climate change. The study published in the scientific journal Nature Communications in late June addresses the large uncertainty about the impact of climate change on atmospheric methane. The study finds that this impact could be 4 times greater than estimated in the latest Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. That's the IPCC report. IPCC, largest scientific panel ever assembled on any subject in human history, and they fail to tell the truth again and again and again. And here we have yet another example of what I already mentioned in this broadcast. Oh, gee, it's 4 times, i.e. 400% worse than we thought. Geoengineeringwatch.org knew it's exactly what we've stated, again, for the entire length of our existence. That methane over a 10-year time horizon is 120 times more potent a greenhouse gas than CO2. So we have to calculate the CO2 equivalent in the atmosphere. And climate engineering, again, making it worse, not better. Climate engineering deflecting some daytime heat over some regions while trapping that heat at night, destroying the ozone layer, totally disrupting the hydrological cycle, setting the stage for the unprecedented wildfires to burn all over the globe. The climate science community has lied on a scale that can barely be comprehended, but in the opposite direction of what most people would like to believe. It's far worse than we've been told, not better. From AccuWeather last week, record high temperatures set to scorch Alaska. It's scheduled to start in July. The report states the abnormal heat will continue to dry out the already baked ground, fueling more wildfires, what I just stated, and in what's already been a record fire season in the last frontier. Alaska, traditionally one of the coldest states in the country, is set to see an unusually warm start to July thanks to a heat dome parking itself over the region. That's exactly what this article states. How many times have I tried to point out the ionosphere heater created heat domes? If you don't know what an ionosphere heater is, please look it up, read about it, learn about it. Take the time to find and view online Holes in Heaven, narrated by Martin Sheen. This is a weapon of mass destruction used for climate engineering operations. There are many around the globe. HARP is the biggest of all, but that is exactly what's occurring here. The report continues, the abnormal heat will also help heat an already abnormally dry landscape, fueling wildfire growth. In Anchorage, just 7% of the city's normal June rainfall fell. Again, climate engineering cutting off precipitation. We can see it on satellite imagery, I'm not guessing. Wildfires have already been burning throughout the state, with a record 1 million acres burned in June alone. Portions of interior Alaska are already facing very high fire danger, with 31 fires burning across the state, with widespread smoky conditions possible in part of the state as the record-challenging heat sets in. About the smoke and how that serves climate engineering operations, again, please search and view one of our most important video reports ever, very short report, Wildfires Serve Geoengineering Agenda. Next headline from last week, Russia's largest and coldest territory declared state of emergency ahead of 2 hardest months of wildfire. Currently in that region that used to never ever burn, there's more than 55,000 hectares already on fire. It's about 130,000 acres, something like that. I'm going to blaze through a few more headlines. You can look up the headline itself to learn more. Last week, dire Italian drought worsening, breaking records, Water Authority says. Next headline, earliest end of rainy season in Tokyo on record. Next headline, record-breaking June temperatures engulf Japan. Authorities warn of power shortages. Next headline, Japan June temperature tops 104 degrees for the first time in history. And then there's the deluge aspect of climate intervention operations. Drought and deluge are the hallmark of climate engineering insanity. This headline, parts of northeast China activate highest weather alert, urge citizens to stay away from rivers and dangerous mountains. Next headline, Bangladesh hit by one of the worst floodings ever seen. Next headlines, rivers overflow, bridges collapse after heavy rains hit northwest Turkey. Drought, deluge, temperature whiplash, climate engineering, connect the dots. But as expected, power structure media will continue to deny and distract, blaming anything and everything but climate engineering. Here's a key.
Oh, I forgot to add in the, that's me talking. I forgot to add in the big major distraction of Roe Wade. And also, look it up, the Supreme Court just ruled on school prayer. And if you look it up, they got a dude posing in front of the Supreme Court building. And also, what he used to do was go to the 50-yard line after every game, win or loss. And he would kneel down and Tebow it. Of course, they didn't give Team Tebow no credit at the 50-yard line. And according to your Christians, you're supposed to do your prayers in private. But more sideshow shit. And see you later. Bye.